I like it.
There we go. 9 o'clock on the wall. I see it's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the prayer and pledge. Ms. Reynolds, will you lead us in prayer?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Dear Lord, we come before you tonight to do the work of the members of the Common of our water system. Please guide us to make very prudent decisions on their behalf. A lot of folks right now are going through many, many hard times, and it's easier said than done to remember 1 Corinthians 10:13, and that you will never put upon us more than we can possibly handle. Even though it
See the green lights on anybody's? You need that on if you want her to hear your clicks.
So our first item, proposed agenda additions by motion. This is something that was added. Do we have any of that to discuss today?
I don't know if we, so speaking for myself, I don't have anything to discuss, but, and I'll query Mark if he remembers. I thought this happened once. Doesn't matter why it happened, but at one point I thought I remember getting a notification from Mark that we couldn't do this in the future because it's against our policies. We passed a policy back in 2019 to where any agenda item had to be added at least 2 days in advance. Am I correct, Mark?
Well, the agenda is posted on the corporate website on Friday, and I think it's discouraged that we add items to the agenda at the last minute. However, if there is something that comes up, you have to. My understanding of Robert's rules is you have to make a motion to add the item to the agenda, and it has to pass by a supermajority of 2/3 of the board in order to be added to the agenda on the night of the meeting.
Okay, then I'll make I don't think it needs to be a request. I'll make a request of Jeff and Emerald if they could check. In my memory, the board passed a motion in 2019 that an agenda item could not be added less than 2 days in advance. Outside of, if Robert's rules makes that OBE, we just need to get rid of that motion then. But if that's still on our books, I'd like to get an answer to whether or not that is still on our books.
So we'll research that. Would you like me just to email the board or provide it at the next board meeting?
You can email the board, that'd be great.
We'll do it.
It might have been part of that open meeting framework document. If I'm not mistaken, there might have been something about agenda development in that. But I think you're right, Don. I think there was something that the board passed regarding developing the agenda and approving it.
So,
Thank you, Don. Mark? Next item, approval of the minutes and the transcripts for the January 20th, 2026 56th annual meeting of members, minutes and transcripts. Have we had a chance to review that?
Yes, Mr. President.
There was a couple comments that came in, and we were addressing those or have addressed them. I think Carmen and Mark, I think, has a couple comments. We'll fix those. Go ahead, Carmen. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Does
Yes,
anybody
Mr.
have any comments outstanding still? Were you going to make a motion, Carl?
I was. I believe Mr. Krigler said that they incorporated those changes to reflect Mr. Linnell is actually the treasurer, not the secretary, and Carmen is the secretary, not the treasurer. Got that. Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to move for approval on the January 20th, 2026 annual meeting minutes and transcripts.
I'll second it.
Can we have a vote? All those aye?
Aye.
Any nay? Ayes have it. Now for the January 26th, 2026 board reorg minutes and transcripts. Any discussion? I believe that's where we had one or two items that need to be corrected. And they're being worked through. And they're corrected. Thank you. Have a motion?
So I will move that we approve the January 26th board reorg minutes and transcripts as corrected.
Second.
We have a vote. All those aye?
Aye.
Any nay? Then the ayes have it. Next, we'll have our approval of memberships. I read December new memberships, 214, cancel memberships, 222, 1 transfer. January new memberships, 247, canceled, 225, transfers, 1.
I move to approve the membership report as submitted.
Second.
We can have a vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Ayes have it. Move to unfinished business. Benefits Committee outline. Mr. Krigler, you want to walk us through that?
I will, yes. So back in September, the board approved the formation of a benefits committee. This would be a committee made up of employees, 7 employees, plus a board member liaison. So we put together a memo outlining the duties of that committee. We presented that outline as part at the reorganization meeting in your packets. Of course, there was no action taken because we weren't doing business on that. That was purely just to get it out there if anybody had any comments. I did not receive any comments, so we're presenting the outline in the same format it was in when you've last seen it. Once again, this new committee does not have any authority to commit resources or implement any policy changes. It simply makes recommendations to myself, and I would bring those to the board if I feel they're appropriate. This is essentially is a group that gives more of a voice to the employees for anything involving their benefits. At the reorg meeting, Director Hardy was elected to serve as the board liaison. So assuming this is passed tonight, we'll go ahead and get that together and probably look at having a meeting in March or April, and she would report at the next board meeting after that any progress or any items of note from that meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve?
So I'll move we approve the Corporate Benefits Committee as discussed.
Do we have a second?
I second.
For discussion, I did have one. Did I hear you say they won't meet until April or later?
Well, we have to form it and then start having meetings.
Okay.
So, I mean, I just think there's going to be a little time associated with that. I think we're going to have pretty good interest from the staff on wanting to be on that, so I want to be fair about it. You know, we only have representation from our company, but also representation from Messi and the club, so it's important what that committee looks like.
You familiar with the voluntold?
Yes, it may come to that. It probably won't. I've already had people express interest in it.
Okay.
Don, was your motion to approve the scope that was
I didn't use that word, but that was the intent. I can
That was
restate
your
it.
intent? Okay.
Yes.
So we have a motion to approve the scope. We have a second. Can we have a vote? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any nay? The ayes have it. Now on to new business. We'll start with our CEO update with Mr. Krigler.
Yes, thank you. I have 3 items tonight, basically. First one, I wanted to provide an update on our solicitation for bad debt services. I think we finally feel good about throwing some dates out that we can hit and deliver on. So next Tuesday will be the 24th. We want to get those RFPs out on the street. Our current approach is to send to a handful of qualified firms, probably 3 or 4. Director Reynolds has given us the names of 1 or 2. I know of at least 1 or 2 local. So we think we have a good list put together that we're going to reach out to. We would make these proposals due on March the 10th to give us plenty of time to get this on the agenda for the March meeting. The RFP will talk about presentations may be required, and we can have that discussion as we go. I haven't kind of made a final determination if we want them to do that or not. It may not be necessary. If there's a clear favorite that we think makes a lot of sense, it may not be necessary for them to come and do that. So, let's see. All right, let's see if we're turned on here. We are. The next item I wanted to mention is a recent press release from the Northwest Florida Water Management District. It is a water shortage warning order. And what this is, basically, we have in Northwest Florida, we're in pretty much a drought. So the Water Management District will put these type of orders in place. we're not required to do anything. This is all voluntary at this point. This is purely just to let people know that they need to be thinking about conserving water. Irrigation would be certainly something you would think about as being more conscious about. So we put this information on our website, and we'll continue to monitor what they put out, but there's no action required by us other than, letting our members know what's going on. Just as a little more information, this picture is obviously of the whole state, but if you look up in the Panhandle, you can see that the majority of the Panhandle is in the abnormally dry zone. Actually, the little bit of southern part of Escambia County and a good part of where our well fields are in the category below that, which is abnormally dry. So you've got, I think it's let's see, yes, moderate drought and abnormally dry. We're kind of right by abnormally dry, certainly in the East Milton area, and it's hard to tell, but the Navarre area looks like it's in the moderate drought. So, and you can see that area around, I think that around Leon County is having a little more extreme drought there. But anyway, so we're monitoring this. Just wanted to just mention this as something that was going on, and like I said, we have put this notice on our website.
Mr. Krigler, thank you for bringing this up. They are categorizing this as the worst drought since 2012, and I posted that on a lot of Facebook pages today so that people could be aware, because some people are not even knowledgeable about the problem.
Right. Thank you.
So I have a question, Jeff, and for anybody that has seen this regularly, if anyone, am I reading right? There's no white area in the state of Florida? No area in the state of Florida is considered what I think of as normal for rainfall?
That's correct. Looks like the best there is abnormally dry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that, my real question was, is that typical? Or is abnormally dry usually the best you ever see up here?
I don't have historical data. I mean, we always think of our areas receiving lots of precipitation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd say this is abnormal.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's move it on. I do want to highlight two little events that one has already happened, one's in the future. They're both junior type golf events at Hidden Creek. First one was held on the weekend of the 7th to the 8th. This one had about 40 golfers, and this was the Emerald Coast Junior Golf Tour. We hosted that. So that was a nice event. They played on Saturday, and then they also played, I think they played 18 on Saturday, 9 on Sundays. I think my understanding of the format. And then we did have upcoming on March 1st. This is a first tee event. This is an adult junior tournament where I believe the adult and junior, whether that's parent or child or whatever, plays together in this tournament. It's in the afternoon on March the 1st. So just mention this because I think we've talked about junior stuff before at the club. I think this is a good events to have to get young people interested in the game for sure.
Did they come to us, or did we go to them on that?
So we actually have a ongoing relationship with First Tee. I don't know how this event came about, but this is not the first event either sponsored or involving First Tee at the club. They do have them from time to time, so I think we just need to do a better job highlighting some of the good stuff going on out there.
Great.
So Trey can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe most of these First Tee reaches out. You are correct. There's a long relationship with First Tee, and they basically, for lack of a phrase, they talk all the time, but they'll bring up, hey, we want to do this.
Right.
I think Trey's answer is almost always, well, when do you want to do it?
Right.
So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they usually bring it up, show his schedule, and you'll afford it.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a good organization for sure, and we like supporting them. All right. I think that was all I had for CEO updates.
We'll move on to our director's updates, starting with the Finance Committee. Mr. Lawrence.
So I was, mostly talked about the end of the year, which was good, but I won't steal either Pam or, well, it's Pam on both the ones I'm on, Pam or Steph's updates. So Pam, I'll let you go to O&M.
Okay. And, okay, so year-end reports indicated that total general and administrative expenses are 92% under budget, which is a great thing. Total water expenses are 98% under budget. Total wastewater expenses are 92% under budget. And the expenses in 2025 have increased slightly due to a corporate tax return in the amount of $65,742.
All right, and for our capital improvement projects, at this monthly board meeting, we reviewed November and December of 2025's CIP sheets. So just real quick to highlight some of the key projects for unrestricted CIP. Last year, 4 new trucks were purchased by the end of the year. The force main repair at the wastewater treatment plant was completed. And then BT SCADA was installed on all of the water wells. And then for the restricted CIP projects, as most of y'all know, the Eglin project is progressing, and then there'll be an easement from Eglin Air Force Base expected within about 90 days. That concludes my updates for that.
Pam, 401K didn't meet this month, did it?
Well, no, but I did discuss it with Jeff and Barbara a little bit. And so there wasn't any kind of changes or anything.
I have an update on that, though, if
Oh.
the board wants to hear it. So we are having a call with the actuary tomorrow, so I anticipate in March having a committee meeting, and then
Okay.
you'll be able to report on that.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Linnell. Ms. Lindsay, can you walk us through the club at Hidden Creek, please?
Yes, so for the club at Hidden Creek, just a couple of the key items from this month's meeting. Upcoming needs for repairs and maintenance. The bridge replacement, there's one bridge on the golf course that needs to be replaced, so that'll be forthcoming. And then there is a patio drainage issue at the golf club, the house. So there's a repair project that'll be forthcoming for that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Lindsay, how long has that patio drainage issue, is that just arising now, or is that ongoing?
I'll defer that.
Lingering. We've gotten some quotes and we have a plan. It's been there a while. If you remember, though, that patio had a pergola on top of it. So the pergola was demolished several months ago. And the next phase is to fix this drainage problem and essentially recoat the concrete surface there.
Do we have ample folks to get bids from, or do we?
Oh,
have-
yes. We have multiple quotes, and we discussed it at the management board meeting. We needed some more information from the vendors, and Trey's gone back to them for more information.
Thank you.
So with the drainage problem, is there going to have to be a buildup of that surface, or just clean everything out?
So we were thinking the best option is probably to do a trench drain, since it slopes towards the door. Some sort of trench drain and daylight that out where that wall is, so that water will drain there.
Okay.
And we got to somehow deal with those downspouts as well, too. So.
Is there anything in the far horizon about putting another type of roof over that area?
No, I think the thought was more of one of those sunshade type awnings, possibly.
I'm sorry. Roof was too strong of a term.
Neither roof nor pergola.
Cover. How about
Yes, some sort of cover, yes,
Okay.
and then possibly having some different furniture out there that might be a little more comfortable
Okay.
that would be covered.
And I did want to mention that we have received payment from Santa Rosa County for their share of the construction to date related to the Santa Rosa County Regional Reuse Project.
And how much was that?
It was for
Reimbursement.
$230,670.44.
That's all their portion
That's
was?
That's
No.
just the most
That's
recent.
Most recent
Oh,
payment,
recent,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Right.
Nice to know. Mr. Krigler, want to walk us through Fairpoint?
Yeah, not a whole lot going on at Fairpoint. I'll be briefing that board on the Northwest Florida Water Management District water shortage order that I just talked about here. Similar discussion expected there. And then next month we have our annual meeting at Fairpoint. So we'll be electing new officers. May end up being the same folks or may not, but we do that at the annual meeting, and that's next month. So that's really all that's going on there.
Bill, on to you.
Other than the fact that we're uncomfortably busy right now, I'm not sure I have anything special to report unless somebody has a question.
Okay, back to Pam for the Benefits Committee.
Yes, since this is a new committee, we have not had the opportunity to hold our first meeting. But I believe that the committee will provide a valuable opportunity to review benefits and strengthen the communication between the board and the employees. I am excited to serve as the first board director on the benefits committee and hopefully help them, they can help me, and we can work on wellness and their health benefits.
Thank you.
So I have a motion for discussion.
Mr. Linnell?
Okay. On the it's not just on the benefits, but to perhaps kick them off and let's just get the evening going good. I'd like to make a motion that we have a wage and benefits survey completed and presented to us at the next meeting. You know, of the surrounding communities to see how our staff and benefits compare to the surrounding communities. Well, we've talked about that and people, well, so that's the motion. I mean, we can discuss afterwards my reasons, but you know, to restate the motion, I'd like to see a wage and benefits survey completed and presented to us at the March monthly meeting.
We have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. Open it for discussion.
So, wanted to kick off the benefits committee. Before they start talking, I think it's a good thing, you know, okay, here's where you are and here's where we are and here's where we are in respect to the surrounding communities. But we've also heard, and I for one don't know truth. I don't work here. I don't want to ping any specific staff, you know, but I've heard over the years a difference of, oh, their benefits are high because their wages are low. And I hear, you know, and then we're cutting benefits, but we're not raising the wages. You know, so I've heard all this, and I just want this company to give me facts. This is where we stand with compared to the surrounding communities. So that's a reason for the request.
And has that been done in the past?
I haven't done one since I've been here. They've been done informally in the sense that I speak to some of the leaders of the other similar sized water systems, and I'll ask them, how you do this, how you do that, what's your policy on this particular benefit, what's your policy on this particular thing. We've done that, but we haven't done a all-encompassing wage and benefit survey to look at every single position.
I think Jared did something with the Rural Water Association as far as where the average wages are for the different positions that we have.
Right, so the American Water Works Association has a national compensation survey, and it does look regionally. So we do have that information, and you can also sort, I believe you can sort by system size. So we have that, that's a more regional collection of data, so we have that. But I think what Don might be talking about is something, I might be thinking about something more in the Panhandle area, if we can now.
Well, not even the whole panhandle, but, well, if you want to go all the way, well, to me, all the way over to Panama City, fine, but, you know, relative size all over. But even if it's, how do we compare to what rural water system is saying for our size? You know, if they have done all this.
Well, so it's by classification of position up and down the org chart, and we're, generally in line with what I saw.
Okay. So if we can get a report stating that, that'd be great. I mean, if Jerry can push some buttons and have that spit out.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge of calling people up and asking them, what do you pay your people, they may not want to share that data. So you know, we may have to.
That's
rely
why,
on that.
if the option is compared to what the rural water tells us for these different positions, I mean, that's a start.
Right.
I would think that we would like to know that we are an employer of choice in our given area, especially with as many open positions that I see that have been approved and have not yet been filled.
Right.
Leads me to believe that we may have an issue in the ability to fill those positions. So I would like to know how we rank or stack up against other, not just water systems or utilities, but other large employers in our area. Both
Okay.
for wages, minimum, maximum for positions, benefits as well. Does that make sense?
It does. I think if we're going to expand the scope of that, I want to make sure I can get that done by March. I don't know that that's getting to be fairly detailed at that point.
So I'll offer, if you have to do that, I don't know, it'd be available by March, and I can offer up, I think if we compared Holly Navarre Water System, Inc. to the defense companies around here, we'd show poor, salary-wise. I mean, it's just a different world. So looking at other, and maybe other people know better, but my first thought is looking at different industries, depends on what the industry is. I mean, if there's a lot of mechanical, civil, and not aeronautical or electrical engineering, then maybe it could be comparable. But I know places I worked, I think if they went into aerospace engineering, salaries would be much higher. So I don't think that would be a good correlation for what we do in particular, that in particular. So, and that's some of the larger ones that I know of, but only because that's my field. I mean, there might be, just right in Gulf Breeze, 10 miles away from me, somebody that employs 5,000 people, and I just don't know who they are. But if you look at aerospace, we won't look very well.
The other challenge with just comparing it to other local, even water utilities is their org charts are different, and the position, let's just pick on Clinton, who's not here. His position and title, there may not be that position in another utility. There's probably someone very similar, but the responsibilities may be different. So to say that we have to compare this position to that position, and the numbers should be the same or very similar, that may or may not be true. So there's a lot of kind of detail on this thing of comparing. We want to be comparing apples to oranges. But I think the place to start is that AWWA compensation survey. Let's see what data we can get out of that. Make sure our classifications match that. We can provide data on that, and then plus whatever we can get from any local folks willing to share. I don't know whether we really want to do that or not, to be honest with you.
So my other question would be, do we have internal staff that can do that?
Oh, absolutely. I would work in conjunction with HR. I'm not going to do all this by myself. I'll certainly get HR's assistance on this. But yeah, I just want to be clear about the scope of what we're trying to provide here.
Also, one thing I think that would be helpful for Jeff would be for the board to acknowledge that, there's a couple of utilities that are directly relatable to us in terms of size without mentioning names. But, if we're going to ask them for information, they're going to want the same detailed information of this utility back to them. So either some type of authorization to do that or an acknowledgement that, that information's got to leave here by title, if nothing else, if that's what you want. So when people start asking you for that information, you begin to understand why it's difficult to give that information.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. That's kind of, someone asked us, there's your attorney saying, no, it's hard to, again, using his example, it's hard to use Clinton's general manager title without, so you can give the world Holly Navarre's general manager's wages and benefits, but the whole world knows who the general manager of Holly Navarre Water System is too, so it's a difficult deal, difficult.
Well, there will be some exceptions, as Mr. Krigler indicated, with positions, but I think overall Director Linnell's idea is a good one in concert with the Benefits Committee. So so we know how we are situated in relation to the other utilities, and we have an established framework to work from, whether we're under or how we sit comparatively to the others. So I think it's a good idea.
Any more discussion? We have a motion, we have a second, and we have a vote. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any nay?
Nay.
If one nay, the ayes carry. Thank you. Moving on to finance and review of the November and December quarterly financials. Mr. Krigler.
Thank you. Yes, I will let Barbara cover. These are the November and December, of course, because we don't do business at the January annual meeting, so we cover these 2 months at this meeting. Ron?
All right, so to report for November, we had a total revenue of $1,289,793. Total expenses of $1,149,359, with a total net operating income of $140,434. With the biggest expenditure for the month of November was the 2025 annual pension contribution in the amount of $250,000. For the month of December, we had a total revenue of $1,457,192. Total expenses of $1,149,359. Total net operating income of $254,227. Total net for the year of 2025, total revenue of $16,894,854. Total expenses $12,091,026, with a total net operating income of $3,600,863. And I also like to point out that these are unaudited numbers. We are currently going through the annual audit, so they will change slightly.
Thank you.
And that was that Holland Bar Inc. you were talking about?
That was just Holland Bar, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So the others are in our book. Are you going over them at all, or was that planned?
I can. Bill, is it all right to go over your total revenue? So for Massey, total revenues for the month of December was $124,494, with a total net loss for December of $33,345. Total for the year, net profit was $183,448. For the golf course, we had a total revenue of
See November in here, I don't know.
okay, total revenue, 100, for December, $188,328, with a total net expenses of $222,990, with a net loss of $34,661. For the year, $259,232,000 profit.
Okay, thanks. I have a question on it, the last number, the Hidden Creek one. So net profit, 259K. So if I'm reading right, before amortization and depreciation, it was, it's just quick math here, I'm doing close to 590K. Does that sound, or do you think that's correct?
490, but yeah.
490, yeah.
259 plus 341? Why isn't that
That
590?
was only for the administrative. not for the-
I'm looking on page 4.
Yeah.
Well, page 4 is kind of relative, but page 4 of the Hidden Creek one. So if I'm not reading right, I'm happy to be educated. They see amortization expense of 182, depreciation of 158. You add those together, I mean, the total's right there, 341. If I add that to 259, that's almost 600K.
Yes, sir.
So you both seem to think 500K was closer to the truth, so is there,
No, it
No,
was
she
a
was
memory?
different
She
number
was looking
on
at
the other page.
You're
okay,
correct, Don.
okay. So a banner year,
Very good year.
very banner year. As the slide you showed a couple of months ago is how well Hidden Creek was doing, so I get to make a motion. I think we'll have even more discussion then, and we'll have to trust in Robert's rules and or anybody to say it's wrong. But so I would like to make a motion that the CEO initiate the search for a general manager for TCHC. That's the base motion, but and I can go into some rationale. One, Jeff is too busy to keep staying over there. It's doing very well. We can certainly afford it. And I'd like to get the two subsidiaries set up the same. There's a single reporting official to Jeff, and there should be a single reporting one to the other one. And the big question over the years has been, can the club support it? And it certainly seems over the last 3 years they can support it. So I'll restate, I'd like to, and I'll make it, and I wrote some stuff down, so I'll restate the motion. I'd like us to direct the CEO to initiate the search for a general manager for the club at Hidden Creek. I'd like to have a posting, and this is all, I guess it's all part of the motion. I'd like to have a posting by the next March meeting. I know there was a position description several years ago. We hired a gentleman. I want to say his name was John Miller. I might be wrong. One of those two names is definitely right. So, and applications can close by 1 May if you have enough, and the May meeting present 2 or 3 candidates, and I'd like to see them on board by 1 July. And that's my motion.
I'd like to table that motion until the board has more time to review the information to a later board.
What's the information you'd like to review?
Mr. President, if I could, so,
I have a motion.
right, you have a motion, you're waiting for a second.
I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second that motion.
You have a motion and a second, you can have discussion. If you were having another motion to lay it on the table, you could make that motion at this point.
So she made a motion, right?
No, she hasn't, I'm waiting.
Oh.
If your motion is to lay it on the table, Ms.
No,
Director
no,
Hardy.
thank you. Thank you for requesting clarification. My motion is to second Director Linnell's motion.
Right, we have a motion and a second, we have that. Now we're at discussion, but it sounded like Director Hardy had a motion to lay it on the table. If you wanted to do that, now would be the time.
Okay, all right. I'd like more information about.
No, ma'am, it would be to make your motion and see if that motion passed. The motion would be to lay it on the table.
Okay, all right. I'd like to make a motion to lay it on the table.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and I'd be curious, what information is needed?
We're not sure what the salary's gonna be. We don't know exactly, we need to look back over these financials a little bit better. There's just a few things that I would like more clarification on. I haven't had time to really review any of this.
Okay,
And I see it as an additional salary that, you know, right now the club is making money. Throw another general manager salary into the mix, and that may not be the case. I'm more in favor of us getting to a point where Holly Navarre Water no longer has to make contributions to Hidden Creek. And the way to do that is to save money, not spend additional money on a general manager position.
And I feel the same.
I recall my presentation on, I believe it was around October the 16th at that meeting, where I identified the need to promulgate more revenue from the club at Hidden Creek, and by implementing many programs, one of which Mr. Krigler alluded to tonight, an emphasis on the junior, standing up a junior golfing program. And I believe that we can increase even more revenue by getting someone that is focused on this and not diluted by being overtasked, and focusing on the matter at hand out there with varied and sundry new programs, revenue-producing programs.
And to what cost would that be to Holly Navarre Water System?
I'm sorry, do you say what cost?
Yes. We already do an appropriation for $138,000, and what Director Reynolds is suggesting we pour money into it.
What's the 138 from? I think this year, wasn't Sprayfields just 114 or something like that?
113.
Am I confusing numbers, Pam? I mean, just,
You could be, I think 138 might have been last year's.
my first thought is last year was even more, but this year was definitely only 113 with I think a budget of 190 or 189. But, so I heard everything you said, okay, as far as how much the person would need to be paid. I mean, that's to be decided during the 3 months while we're looking in their experience. But what was the other thing you said? Oh, I apologize, Pam.
That's okay.
So from
Look at the numbers, wasn't the pay. Oh, we are contributing. Is that the word that we're using now? We contribute? Okay, we're contributing to the Club of Hidden Creek because that's what this board agreed to do. Okay, this board agrees not to, and I wholeheartedly expect, and I would support, that once Eglin opens and the board or management comes to some agreement with the Club of Hidden Creek as to, okay, how much water do you need? I might be stepping on my foot here and saying something others don't want to hear, but, I mean, they should be on their own after that. Okay, once Eglin opens, and to a great extent, they should be on their own. I mean, so that's a different avenue to address. Do we still give them any kind of contribution or not? But we certainly should not be contributing to their GM salary. Their GM salary, or all their salaries, needs to come out of profit, out of their profit, and the contribution is not part of their profit.
And whose profit?
Is that a strict, okay. I'll make sure that can't be counted as profit for them. Okay, but, okay.
Mr. President, if I could, I didn't want to interrupt Director Linnell, but your motion that is on the table is to lay this on the table. This is a procedural motion. Your discussion on whether you should hire a GM or not, or direct that, is the motion that is being either voted on to lay on the table or not. If that fails, then we can have discussion on that original motion.
Okay, so thanks, Will, but I thought discussing
Right, why
Pam's
not
motion.
to lay on the table? And that's why I didn't
Okay.
interrupt. So
Okay.
if we're having discussion on that, that
That's-
is necessary.
I just wanted them to have my comments. that's all.
Understood.
So,
Okay, Will, so just as a point of order, the second motion to lay it on the table supersedes the first motion.
Well, it doesn't. It's a procedural motion. If it passes, then the motion that has been second will be laid on the table. And then the only way to bring it back up is somebody has to make a motion to bring it off the table, and that can happen at the next meeting.
Thank you for the
But-
clarification.
If it fails, then you would be right back to your discussion because you already have a motion and a second.
Mhm. Okay, so we have a motion to lay it on the table, a second to lay it on the table. Can I have a vote on
No.
whether we?
I'd like to interrupt only for clarification.
Yeah.
So if it passes, it can't be brought up until next meeting. That's,
If it's laid on the table, it comes up, you could, at the next meeting,
Okay.
someone can make a motion to bring it up off the table, at which point, again, you already have your motion
Got it.
and a second, and you'd be right into that motion.
okay?
Are we
Sorry,
ready?
yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to lay on the table, we have a second on that motion. Can I have a vote on the motion to lay it on the table? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
4 ayes. All opposed?
Wait a minute, if I could I get it, so I know that was Director Linnell? Okay, more,
Oh, wait. I'm,
and who are the other two?
I think
Oh.
Mark and Pam.
Rob
Rob.
and Pam. Okay, 4.
Okay. And then a nays would be? Nay. So ayes have it.
For a month.
Okay.
We'll do it again.
We'll place this on the agenda in March.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please.
And so, for my edification, under our current easement, is Holly Navarre Water System obligated to fund certain items at the club?
Not under the easement, but under the board direction that came out when we were meeting out at the club at Hidden
I think
Creek.
it talks about what happens if the easement is somewhat hypothetical right now in the sense that the entity owns both, but the language in there, if that entity out there was not utilizing it, we'd have the ability to step in, but we're not required to do anything past that, other than provide the water. I think there was a clause in there that you might be interpreting differently. We can go over that.
So, Will, I'd like you to review that clause for me and bring it back.
The clause, which,
There's a clause in the existing easement on who funds what.
right, that has no impact on your current operation. Because your board has put in place an entirely different management board for the club at Hidden Creek, which one of you is a member of, and that board is that is an LLC, and you have, as this board, made earlier policies on how you were funding it. You have no obligation to make any funding to it other than the fact that you have to have a spray field there and you have to operate that spray field. But otherwise, you have no other obligations to it. And the easement doesn't determine what those obligations are because, again, you own wholly the club at Hidden Creek. So you can direct, because you're the only entity that owns it, you control it. Now, you control it through a 3-member board of that LLC, so you have to give some direction to it. Which we will take some staff time between now and next week because these kinds of decisions for the club at Hidden Creek would typically want to come from your Hidden Creek management board, or you would want to be directing that management board through your CEO to handle, to do that. And that's fine. But to answer your question directly, that easement language about how much they pay this or the other is essentially OBE, overtaken by events. This board has taken action differently than that, and you're perfectly you were perfectly in your right to do so.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So the management board at TCHC, that LLC, you mentioned has 3 members. My memory is a couple of years ago, we made a motion that reduced that to a single member, that being the CEO. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the board member that sits on that board now, I mean, Director Lindsay, she is a non-voting member. She's not a voting member.
Right.
So
You're right. You're right, Director Linnell, but it is the management company, it is the management group under your operating agreement for your wholly owned subsidiary, the club at Hidden Creek. The club at Hidden Creek has its own operating agreement, it has its own bylaws, and it has its own management. So, but you, this board, can direct whatever you determine through your majority vote that you want them to do. And then it's implemented through the management group.
Okay, so I'd like to make one pointed question then. I thought you'd said something else, but now I think you
Yeah,
just
I
said
think,
something I would
I
like
think
to-
you're right.
I think what you
so-
said now, I'd like to hear. And that's
You're right in that I misspoke in the regards to the 3 managers. The board did make a decision, and Jeff is the single managing member
Correct.
of the club at Hidden Creek, because you had made, and I don't recall what that was, what date that was, but you were right. It is not a 3-member. It was initially set up as a 3-member, but you are right. It is your CEO. And he serves that, he doesn't serve it as your CEO.
Right.
He serves it as your manager of your club at Hidden Creek. He just he has 2 hats.
correct.
So, right, you are correct in that regard.
Okay, so, and just for my edification, at first, I thought you were saying, essentially, the board can't do this. The LLC has to
No,
decide whether or not there's a GM. But I think
yeah.
the last thing you said, I took as this board can tell the LLC what to do.
Yeah. You'll recall during our training on Friday, I also said that, what we don't want to do on the dais is play gotcha, but understood. What I was simply saying is that we have a management structure at the club at Hidden Creek.
Right.
That management structure reports directly to you because you're the only owner of this board. So your motion, which you made and got a second, and which was then put on the table, was wholly appropriate and would have directed any action that you choose from this diocese to direct. All I was saying is the staff, me included, will be better prepared if we know what we're doing and are able to research that before we get up here.
Okay. And I apologize for any gotcha actions. Sorry about that. I'm good.
All discussion over?
I make a motion to approve the finances as submitted.
I'll second that.
So the motion is to approve the November and December quarterly 2025 financial statements as presented.
I amend my motion accordingly, yes.
And we have a second.
Yep.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Thank you. Item 4. Motor controllers. President, can you walk us through what this is concerning?
I sure can. So last year, we purchased 14 of these new motor controllers for our lift stations. These are improvements on our lift stations really for 2 reasons. As part of our upgrade to VT SCADA, which is our communication protocol, so we can monitor our lift stations. They'll help us in that regard, and also they're more safe from a cybersecurity perspective. So those are the 2 reasons we're doing these upgrades as we transition to VT SCADA for our wastewater collection system. This is a sole source purchase. We want kind of standardization on this piece of equipment, and also just interchangeability when we have to go work on these things. We want to be able to just be able to have one piece of equipment we're replacing, not multiple pieces of equipment doing the exact same thing. Essentially, what this will be for 27 stations, but we have a total of 90 stations, so eventually you can see the need for standardization there. So this is the same, we're recommending this purchase. This is from EMC, same entity we bought them from last year. This item is on an approved budget item on our unrestricted budget for the 2026 VT SCADA budget line item for the wastewater collection system. And I believe at least Director Ingram, if not Director Lindsay, got to see these being worked on there as part of their tour the other day. Our electrical staff was in the midst of programming them while we were giving our tour there in the electrical control room. So yes, we're recommending the sole source purchase of 13 of these motor controllers from EMC in the amount of $106,491.84.
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Krigler, with that great explanation, 90 stations, lift stations, how many more do we have coming online that will need this VT SCADA upgrade?
So we're currently running two different systems. We have VT SCADA we're implementing at the larger stations. We have a different system for some of the smaller stations, just because we don't need to visit those as much, and the risks of issues happening there are less. We can, we have greater respond time when we have an alarm there. So we're not going to do VT SCADA or these motor controllers at all 90-something. My point was just that we have 90-something stations we have to monitor in some fashion. But certainly the larger stations initially that are going to be put on VT SCADA includes the 14 plus the 13 for this year. So that's 27 as we roll this out.
So, and I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, just for the edification of myself and the board. I'm trying to get a feel for how many more of these sole sources will come up. So at 27, are we addressing most of the larger lift stations out of that 90?
Yes, and this will be the last purchase of this type in 2026. I'm not saying we won't come up with a desire to do some more of these in 27, but right now this wraps up our 2026 budget for this item.
So there's 63 smaller ones out there, maybe.
Yeah, and it's relative. We really have the 4 or 5 really large regional stations, a group in the middle, and then we have probably 20 to 30 really small ones. So that's kind of more of a breakdown of how these stations look.
Thank you, Mr. Krigler. With that detailed explanation, I would move for approval on item 4.
I'll second for discussion. I just got a couple questions real quick. So the sole source, as I heard it, is for our benefit, not just because there's a single supplier.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So VT SCADA, when we first got that, was that competitive? When we first went down,
I wasn't here when it was first selected, I don't believe, but I think they looked at multiple software before they chose to go to that.
Okay. Okay.
And so, Jeff, why are we buying all of them at the same time?
So my understanding is there's a pricing benefit to buying a group of them now. I think the vendor was anticipating a price increase.
So I have a motion, I have a second. Can we have a vote? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Any nay? The ayes carry. Let's move on to the reuse project. You want to walk us through that again, Mr. Krigler?
Yes, got a couple, got a couple notes on this one. This is kind of a long-winded item, I apologize, but essentially it boils down to essentially moving some work from one contract to another, both contracts being held by the same contractor. So L&K Construction is the contractor for both phases 1A and 1B of the Eglin project. We split that project into 2 phases. L&K was the low bidder for both of those. They were awarded both those contracts. Phase 1A, which essentially contains the ribs up at Eglin and a portion of the pipeline on Eglin Air Force Base property, is pretty much the scope of Phase 1A. That contract started in December of 23. And the majority of that work has been complete for a while, and we've essentially just kind of been in a holding pattern up there awaiting the Eglin Air Force Base approval for this last piece of easement. We have about 2,200 feet of pipeline that still has to be installed. In the meantime, the contractor has some ongoing costs, mostly bonding type costs, some insurance costs that he incurs with an open contract. So really to kind of help him out, and the fact that we have the same contractor on Phase 1B, he asked if he could essentially close that contract out, move that work to Phase 1B, and complete it under that. So it's really kind of an administrative effort. There's one item of work that needs to be added to Phase 1B is what we're asking. That is the installation of 4 monitoring wells that are required by the permit. Once these ribs are in place, we have to do monitoring of the groundwater, and we'll be reporting that to FDEP per our permit. So that's kind of the reasoning. So basically for Phase 1A, we're looking to delete the remaining pipeline work and the associated items with that, restoration, some testing, things like that. Comes up to a deduction of $315,650, and it allows us to close out that contract. So what we would do is take those remaining work items, put those in Phase 1B. Once again, this is the same contractor, and add the monitoring wells. The monitoring wells cost was $60,620 for the 4 monitoring wells. And we would add those to Phase 1B, and we'd be adding a total of $376,270 to Phase 1B. So you can see the total net increase is only the additional work that we would like to do the monitoring wells, and that's in the amount of $60,600. So
It's
a
not
lot
that
of
we would like to do the work.
we have to do the monitoring
We're
wells.
required to
We
do the
have
work.
to do the monitoring wells, right?
Exactly. Thanks.
Thank you for that clarification.
Everybody understand?
Oh, yes.
So I've written a kind of a long-winded recommendation. If we could follow that, so we can, because it calls into change order number and what phase and all that, so we can just get that straight.
Can I have a motion?
Yep, in lieu of all that, I move that we approve change order number 3 for LNK Construction to the Phase 1A contract with a deduction in the amount of $315,650, and change order number 1 to the Phase 1B contract with an addition in the amount of $376,270.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion? Can we have a vote? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any nay? Ayes have it. Let's get down to item 6, strategic planning options.
Yes, so we were directed to get some quotes, provide some options to the board for a professional facilitator for a strategic planning session to occur in the near future. We have done that. We have reached out to 3 firms. I received 2 proposals, which are in your packet under, hopefully, tab 6. Also received a 3rd one today. It was just turned in to me today. And after looking at these, if the board wants to proceed with this at all, I recommend we go with the proposal from Arcadis. I believe the amount on that was $18,300, and that was a good bit lower than the other 2. I'm familiar with this firm. They've done some strategic planning work for some other utilities in the Panhandle. So I think that's the way to go. Part of what they're going to do, the scope of this is really to do some kind of interviews with each director beforehand and do some prep work. The idea is they really need to understand where each director is coming from on some of these issues. What do they think is important for the water system as we go forward, as opposed to just getting in there and not knowing, maybe what the hot topics are. So there'll be some interviews beforehand, prep work, facilitation of the session, and then documentation of the session. And I made it clear during the search we do not want a large report. We want pretty something succinct to document what happened, enough till we can look back 2 years from now and say, well, what were we supposed to, what came of that, but not necessarily spend a bunch of money writing a large report that's going to go on the shelf. So we think we found that common ground. It wasn't clear in the prior meeting if this is something the board does want to proceed with at that level of funding, but we are presenting that tonight. So if the board wants to proceed, I'd recommend we go with the Arcadis proposal.
Mr. Krigler, the second one was, is that, oh, okay. which is the second company, and how much was that?
The second one was HDR, and I think they were 26,919.
And then
The
your,
third one was well above that. And they submitted that today, and it's not in your packet.
So they gave you a number?
Yeah, it was well above the third one, well above the second one.
Okay.
And so this will give us the framework to build out the 5-year strategic plan, which is exactly what Ms. Hardy was asking for at the last meeting.
I believe it will. We will have a full day session, and that session will be documented. So yes, we can lay all that. If that's the time frame you want to look, that's yes. The answer is yes.
I gotta say, frankly, I got sticker shock when I saw the cost of doing this strategic planning. I fully believe we all need to sit down and set priorities and have a strategic plan, but just can't see spending $18,000-$20,000 on a facilitator to do that. That's
And I struggled with that as well, Mark, and I did want to keep this limited at this point to consulting firms that work in this field. I mean, you probably could find someone that doesn't work in this field to do it, maybe do it cheaper, but I think it's important that they understand the issues, regulatory issues, issues facing utilities. I think that's what they bring to the table, so.
And I guess I wonder, the same comment was made at the last meeting, whether or not we have enough professionals in our system today to lead the board in that type of discussion and develop that 5-year plan.
That's certainly a route you can go. I think we could have a good session. Will it be as good? Probably not. You won't have that independent facilitator kind of keeping the discussion going, redirecting, things like that. But there could still be a good session without this. It's really up to what the board wants to do here.
So I would be in favor of spending the 18 for a company that has done this in the past for utilities. The 7 of us, I mean, in particular, the 7 of us, if anybody's got credentials in doing this, the other 6 have to say, okay, yeah. And I don't see us doing that. I mean, because we're on the board because we've got a semi-strong personality to begin with. So, and we all, so I would certainly be in favor of bringing them in to help facilitate and organize, especially if, you know, their interviews with each of us, I think, could be very telling to them, and they could bring that back in a, you know, one-on-one sessions would be much much friendlier, less stressful time talking with a consultant one-on-one about our thoughts, and then them assembling them and coming and talking to all of us at the same time. So, yeah, I would favor, if we want to do a strategic plan, I would favor
And I think in
Arcadis or Caddis?
I think in the long run, we'd be paying it back, that 18,000, if we have a really good strategic plan, a 5-year, and we'll be increasing, you know, will be our profits, not really profits, but
Efficient.
yeah, our infrastructure, where the money needs to go.
Agreed.
So
So
ready for a motion?
Discussion.
well, I mean, we're discussing, and there wasn't and I guess I'm getting in too much of a rut with how we do things, but there wasn't any recommendation made, but I hear you say, I think I heard you say, hey, if we wanted to go this route, you're going to recommend Arcadis regardless. Is that a true statement?
That's correct. The reason I didn't write that up is because I think there did not seem to be a consensus to proceed with this. I wanted the board to have that discussion, and then if asked for my opinion, that it is to proceed with Arcadis, if you want to do that.
And they are like the 800-pound gorilla for what?
I'm sorry, Phil, I didn't.
I said they are like the 800-pound gorilla for that type of work too. They do as much or more than anyone else.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of the gorilla, I know that the reason this concept came up was because a fellow board member was concerned about my thoughts about the strategic plan and that my thoughts might override any of you strong people here with strong personalities on this board. So really, to save the water system members money, I could solve this very quickly in just allowing you guys to do the strategic plan, and I step down off the board and save the water system $18,000.
I would disagree with your presumption that started this. I know I was about to say 4 years, but I was only on 3 years. There were multiple discussions during the 3 years when I was on previously about, we don't have a strategic plan. We want one, we don't have a strategic plan. And we needed at least 4 people on the board to finally say, we're going to do that. So I don't think we had that before. We may not have it today. But as far as I'm concerned, that's what's been driving it, that different individuals on multiple boards have said, we should have a strategic plan. We're not a dinky company. We could do with a strategic plan. So I would prefer you not step down, not leave, and leave it to the rest of us. I would not vote for that.
Well, and I drafted a strategic plan, and at that meeting that was so contentious, which was our board reorganization meeting, I said that was a draft and subject to discussion. So there is a draft strategic plan in place that we could work from that might save us $18,000. I grew up poor with one pair of shoes, and just spending money, much like Director Miller, is just not what I want to do as part of my fiduciary responsibilities.
Okay. I wholeheartedly support them being given the draft. If we go down this route.
It's already happened. I mean, as part of my
okay.
conversation with them, I kind of gave them background, and I said, we have a director that's already drafted something. We want those ideas to be heard, and certainly they're going to be heard and discussed. So that's been done.
Okay.
And certainly all those will get discussed as part of it.
Okay. Is there any more discussion?
I'm just going to say, I think we could find a less expensive option to come up with a strategic plan. Whether it's just, we determine what our common priorities for this water system are and put them to paper, and identifying priority number 1, priority number 2, all the way down to number 10 or number 20 for the next 5 years. This board changes every year, so our priorities aren't going to be the same as the priorities of next year's board or last year's board. So, we're going to spend this $18,000 every year to redo this strategic plan and update it. I really think as long as we as a board can come up with a list of priorities and give that to the CEO, that's our purpose as a board. I just don't see the value in spending this kind of money on a company to come in and facilitate this.
But if you have a new board, if you put a 5-year plan in place, aren't you going to stick even a new board with that 5-year plan?
Yeah, that's...
And so that's where the money would be. And also, this company, they're professionals. We know what we want the water system to be, but do we actually know how to, or what, do we know that much about the industry? I know Carmen knows a lot about the industry, but do the rest of us know a lot about the industry as far as water system goes, or what?
Nope. Speaking for myself, this was not my background. Being able to say something looks goofy.
A professional knows, they know all the regulations, they know what we should be doing first. Wastewater treatment plant needs some work. There's a lot of things. I just think it's money well worth. spending. Because I think in the long run, in 5 years, we'll be earning that money back.
I would agree, and I'd also like to offer that for a strategic plan, a workable strategic plan that holds water, 18,000 is very inexpensive from the ones I've sat through in a different career. Much larger companies, I agree, but not when you break it down division by division. 18,000 is not a lot. I'm not saying it's insignificant, it's just not a lot. And I think it would be well worth it. So, we'll go round and round, so I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move that we authorize Jeff and/or staff, whichever is proper, to contract with Arcadis for $18,300 to work with us on the strategic plan to deliver one, and deliver a strategic plan.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? And we have a vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nays?
Nay.
Okay.
Ayes have it.
Was there were four? Everybody
Four
voted?
and two.
Okay. Rob's gone.
Mr. President, if I could, that vote just reminded me that Director Lowe was off the dais right before the discussion on item number 5. I'd like to note for the record that that was the case. And so when the vote of the directors was made to approve the motion, which Director Linnell made, it was a 6-0 with Director Lowe off the dais. And for that vote that we just had, by my count, it was 4 to approve and 2 nays with Director Lowe off the dais.
Agree.
I say that only because we recall from our training that the Eglin Rib project is a sunshine project, so I wanted to make the record clear on that.
Moving on to operations. Mr. Krigler, can you walk us through item 7?
Yes, I can. So we have a filter unit at our Navarre wastewater plant currently offline. We had discovered some cracks in the bottom of the filter panels, and this has allowed sand to accumulate in the under drain system. Basically, the way this filter works, the effluent, treated effluent, or semi-treated effluent, filters down through the sand, it's collected in an under drain system, and periodically you have to backwash that filter by sending water back up in the reverse direction. Once again, so this problem with the cracks has caused issues with the nozzle system that's used during the backwash cycle. So we met with the representatives of the filter manufacturer, this is a company by the name of Ovivo, and they sell a set of 10 replacement panels. And we asked them point blank, can we not buy the 4 or 6 we need? And they said, no, we sell them in a set of 10. So we were very clear on that question, and they answered it. We've already ordered some new sand to finish the rehab of this filter, as well as replacement nozzles. And so we get these bottom panels fixed, we can put this filter back together. Currently, like I said, it's offline, and we have 2 other filters at the plant that are operational. Once again, this will be funded out of our general wastewater treatment plant repairs budget item. There's budget available in this, in our unrestricted budget item, and the cost of this is $46,000. So we're approving purchase of the new filter panels from Ovivo in the amount of $46,000.
Move to approve the purchase of the new filter panels from Ovivo in the amount of $46,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we have a vote, please? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Ayes have it.
Did you say that, or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are there any nays? Thank you.
Just the name was.
Moving on to engineering. Mr. Phillips.
Well, couple things. One, the I&I calculation that we've been working on, we actually do have a number. We did not get it done in time to put it in the board package, so I didn't want to present it as a separate item. We were working on the capacity stuff this past couple of weeks. We think we have possibly solved our issue with being able to get the information we need out of the software that we have. We did find some additional flow that's going through the plant that wasn't accounted for, which resolves some of those INI spikes that we had in the fall for those of you that were here that we saw. The item number 2 is the second thing you normally see in your package is that 5 or 6 pages of development that's going on. There is really no development going on right now, so we also have that you'll see in the next package, and we're simplifying that to essentially what projects have come in the year, where they are status-wise, how big they are, and if they're completed. So we'll have that for you too as well. But there's very little going on development-wise in the franchise area right now, so. Other than that, I don't have, there was one other item earlier that I was going to discuss, and I can't remember what it was now, so you get lucky.
So when you're talking, what was the phrase you used?
Go ahead.
The projects, what were you saying? There's not much new going on?
There is very little development-wise
Development,
going
new
on.
development.
I can't
Very
believe I
little.
forgot the development. You mean no new building?
There's very little,
Okay.
very little of it going on right now.
Okay.
I mean, I think Jeff could probably tell you the number of new projects we've had since January 1 is pretty close to zero.
Yeah, we've had some members coming in and out of existing buildings and stuff, but as far as new
But
construction,
New
none.
construction, almost nothing.
Thank you.
I see a lot of bulldozers around.
Yeah, a lot of modifications and stuff, but well, there's some projects that have been approved in the past that are still ongoing, but very little new coming in.
Yeah, when we get a set of plans, it's probably 8 months to a year before anything even happens in the field sometimes.
Mr. Phillips, what about the finishing off of that footprint over in Elevate Navarre?
The Master Booster Pump Station is, they have finally started to show some construction effort over there. The wall should be going up as we speak. They have a currently estimated completion date sometime in May. So hopefully they will stick to that and we'll get that thing online
And what about that
before the
hotel?
summer months.
What about that hotel that's supposed to go in over there? Is it a Holiday Inn Express or something? Over in Elevate, next to the apartments?
I think Jeff can speak to that more
Yeah,
than me.
they have not broken ground to my knowledge.
Yeah, there is an approved set of plans.
Right.
For something over there, if that's your question.
Right.
Yes. Sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen, but I would expect that to happen, but we haven't seen anything moving.
Thank you.
So we haven't had any action yet. That same thing. We haven't provided them details or costing or nothing. Correct.
For
Yeah.
the project she's talking
For
about,
the hotel.
they have an approved set of plans by us.
Oh, they do? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I missed that. Is that what Jeff said? I missed it.
Yes.
Okay.
Have they paid their capacity fees yet or not?
I
No,
don't
they would,
believe-
typically, they don't have to pay until they're really ready at the end of the project. Sometimes they pay early just because they want to get it set up, but they typically wouldn't pay until construction is complete, and then they're ready to go. We set the meter, and
There was another larger development marketing, you'll have to excuse me, I can't remember which one it was. It did essentially prepay in the fall, but I can't remember what that one,
Right.
was. But
we
it's
have
pretty-
two larger subdivisions that have come on board recently that have been released for construction. And those were years in the making, but one in Holly and one down on the east side of 98 there.
What about the Wawa at the Whispering Pines
We have-
intersection?
So there's two possible Wawas in our franchise area. We're reviewing one by Whispering Pines and one by Edgewater.
Gas stations and grocery stores.
Anything else from the board?
And while the board is gathered, do we want to throw out some dates for strategic planning so I can get with that consultant, or we want to decide that in a future date? Or just give me a ballpark, I can see when they're available. I'm thinking late March, early April, just because he's got to conduct those interviews, and there's some just startup time to get that thing kicked off, so I think that's going to take a couple weeks. At
Yeah,
least.
I think it'd be good if you could tell us their availability
Okay.
and what those dates are, and then we can go from there.
I will do that.
Okay, great. And I'm looking at the member sign-up sheet. There's no one has signed up for that today. Anyone who would like to address the board? Please approach the podium. Please give us your name and address, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Lee Horde. I live at 6968 Gandy Drive in Navarre. So I have a question, and then I have an opinion. Prefer which one first?
Just have your question.
The question is, why aren't the director positions paid positions? Why are they volunteer? And there's a rationale, and you actually expressed it earlier by saying, hey, we need to attract great talent, right? And that's why you wanted to have a comparison to other employers in the area. So my argument would be, those should be paid positions, and you'll get better talent, not disparaging anybody that's on the board currently. So just take that for what it is worth. You don't have to answer me now. I'm just planting the seed, and then I have an opinion.
I think that's in our bylaws that we can't be paid.
It's both in the articles and the bylaws, right?
So it would take a lot to change it then,
It would take a majority of the membership
of the members.
to vote that change.
Okay. And then my opinion is for your strategic planning. So the water system doesn't just need a 5-year plan, Mr. President. It needs a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50-year plan, which includes all kinds of contingencies, including wastewater systems. We're going to have a hurricane within the next 50 years, that's for sure. So, what are our contingency plans, et cetera. So that's just an opinion. So if you're going to pay $18,000, maybe you can get not only a 5-year plan, but a long-range plan as well. So thank you for entertaining my question and my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Can I have a vote? We adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
Don't want to bet.
Thank you.
Take some good